Hello everyone. I don't need to talk much about this. We'll talk about how we got it though. So I entered the Bowmore ballot and initially got an email saying, unfortunately you've lost. But then it turns out that if you didn't accept the original ballot, after I think it was 2 days, it deferred to someone else. I was one of those lucky deferrals. It's not the first time in my life I've had to say that. So this is the Bowmore 18-year-old cash strength Feis Ile release, which is, I've got a little tag here, my bottle in particular is bottle 1865 of 3,000. Now the bag's definitely going to fall down when I pull this out. Oh no, it didn't. Look at that. If that will stay there for the entire shot, I will be a happy man. So we're going to pour some. As soon as this arrived, I opened it. Because cask strength Bowmore is something which I have quite a love affair with. And I'm just going to dangle the little tag on it as well. It gets stuck in the bag, so it's just nice to put it there. Before we talk about cask strength Bowmore, with the bottle came this little thank you card from Bowmore. It's a little drawing of the distillery. I think most people may have thrown that away. I kept hold of it. It's quite a nice little feature. We'll get some close-up shots of that. And it just says, your order was packed especially for you by the Bowmore team. We hope to see you at Bowmore soon. The card says thank you. I would like to say thank you to Bowmore for releasing this whiskey, because this is pretty special. There's a flaw with the specialness, which we'll get to towards the end, and the score in particular. But I mean, look at that. You know, 51.2%, 18 years old. I believe it's natural colour. I'd be amazed if it wasn't. I believe it's non-chill filtered, and it's been matured solely in first fill Oloroso casks for 18 years. I nearly said 6 years. 18 whole years. £135, which is expensive for an 18-year-old, but my adoration and genuine love for cask strength Bowmore is something which is unwavering, but they just don't do any of it anymore. You know, there's the Vault series, like Vault Edition 1 and stuff. I don't know if they're cask, like natural cask strength, they're higher strength, and they still taste pretty good, but it hasn't blown me away as much as the Tempest series did, which was incredible. The Bowmore Lamrig, which was like a 54% version of the 15-year-old. Outstanding whiskey. They did some French wine cask finished 18-year-olds, an 18, a 19 and a 26, I think, years ago. We bought one of them and reviewed them. They were incredible whiskies, and every cask strength Bowmore I've had, independent or official bottling, has always been good. Every single time. Never had a dud one, ever. And granted, I'm not the main market for Bowmore 18. I like for Bowmore, sorry. I like the 15. I don't really buy the 12. I've owned a regular 18. I didn't think it was as good as other 18-year-olds, especially from Islay. It just didn't do as much as I wanted it to. But this did in so many ways. So what I'm asking you to do, Bowmore, is please release more cask strength whiskey that is maybe not limited edition. Bring back the Tempest series. I'd buy all of it. I know that's not enough for like your CEOs and stuff, but I would buy a lot of it, honestly. It was incredible whiskey, as is this. This is the first Feis Ile bottling I've ever owned. I've not been lucky enough to ever win them, be them Ardbeg or Calibres or Lagavulins. The Lagavulin is too expensive this year, so I'm not paying 160 quid for a 13-year-old. That's just not happening. But yeah, I've gone on enough. Let's smell and taste and be amazed that this bag is still standing. So I'm going to move that tag forward because it has some tasting notes on it, which are pretty spot on. But in terms of the nose on this thing, it is that beautiful concoction of deep dark chocolate, orange, specifically just like chocolate orange. As soon as I opened it and to now, it's what it smells like. Really laid back campfire smoke, like the day after bonfire night sort of thing. And with that is an association with like cinder toffee and just like caramel coated things. And I'm sure for most people across the planet who do the whole Guy Fawkes bonfire night thing, there's similar examples. But within that, and deeper down, it's been a bit of a running theme of our last couple of videos. There's a mintiness, there's like a pine needle nature to it. It reminds me a lot. I'm not a massive beer drinker or beer associated with beer at all, but the smell of it reminds me of like various stouts I've tried over the years. It has sweetness of like caramelized things and chocolate and charred things, and it's a bit smoky and a bit dry, and those earthy things that aren't smoke, pine, moss, I can't think of any of the words, just like the smell of a forest, you know, but with 18-year-old cask strength sherry in it. Genuinely A-grade stuff. Like, that nose, to any whiskey drinker, I doubt you wouldn't get excited by that. It's too good of a smell to not get excited by. But then the taste. So let's start listing, hey? I'm gonna start backwards, because the finish is the bit where this thing kind of shines for me. It's not a word you'd associate with whiskey, but it's very zingy, it's tangy, it's almost fizzy, which is something which I've had with Octomores of the past, and certain Ardbegs too. There is a freshness to the finish. It is very mint driven. It's very light chocolate, like kind of desiccated chocolate, rough kind of thin coatings around things. The palate, it's so weighty and thick and just outrageous, which is what you'd expect for the amount of time this thing has spent in Oloroso sherry. Going back to the Woodford review we did a couple of weeks ago, which is like sweet and decadent, this is weighty and decadent. Unlike other Islers, specifically things like Caligula 18, old bottles of Laphroaig 18, the Caligula is olives and salty water and seaweed. The Laphroaig had that, but with white chocolatiness in it. This is like a totally different style. It's smoked chocolate, and it's a little bit of chili. And I've always said with old Islay whiskies, the smoke mellows out. This has, but it's still the focus, and it's still the constant. Even with these big sherry things, the smoke is amplifying all these other flavors of mint and pine and moss and chocolate and orange. And then the initial arrival of it is, again, weighted, thick, and just so luxurious and quite outstanding, in all honesty. Sherry casks and talking about chocolate, it's such a classic thing to do, but this personifies it for me. It honestly does. At 51.2%, I think a lot of people go, oh, it's strong. And if you'd never tried an old whiskey of that strength, you might think it's quite strong. I hate the word smooth, because I think it doesn't really tell you anything about a whiskey. I think the word smooth tells you more about a whiskey drinker than it does the whiskey. Not in a bad way, but I just think it does. This is so easy to drink, which at that percentage and at the cost of this bottle of £135 is a danger. And when I do take this home and put it on a shelf, I'll make sure it's hidden somewhere so I don't drink it all. But my plead to Bowmore with this bottle is, you have the ability to release stuff like this for a festival. I'll stop banging that because it's probably coming through the microphone. I'm getting angry. You have the ability to release this kind of whiskey, and it's some of the best whiskey I've ever tried. This is one of the best bottles of whiskey I've ever come across, ever. Like, that's not a lie in any way. Paid for with my own money, opened, enjoyed, and continually blown away by it. The second glass of this I had, maybe a week ago, after I was closing the shop, it was the spiciest thing I'd ever tried. And now it's this mellow, chocolate, piney, minty, gently smoky thing. And I think with big distilleries, it goes to show that they can do this stuff. And I don't think it should just be for a festival. As important as Feis Ile is, and I didn't win the 23-year-old. I never took part in that, ignore that. I never took part in the 23-year-old ballot because I knew I couldn't afford that. This I was willing to spend money on because I knew it would be good. And I've been, like, not surprised at how good it is in any way. Herein lies the problem. So there's only 3,000 bottles of this in the world, right? This one's open, so it's 2,999, which still exists somewhere. And we don't know if they're open or not. And people are already asking 450 to 500 pounds a bottle for this. I think if you're a whiskey drinker, and this is the first time I've ever said this about any whiskey, if you were lucky enough to own a bottle of this and you don't open it, I honestly consider it criminal. And I've never said that about anything before. I've always said once you legally buy something, you can do whatever you like with it, within the realms of the law, of course. But if you like Bowmore and you like Islay whiskey and big sherried stuff, if you don't open this, I honestly think you're missing out. Yeah, you can sell it for a profit. I fully understand that. If you won this whiskey and you sell stuff for a profit, you've probably already got other stuff to sell. Please open this, because it is so beautiful and so incredible. And this is a love letter to Bowmore, essentially. You can make incredible whiskey. You do make incredible whiskey. I just wish you would release more of this stuff. But this is a long enough video as it is. It's an incredible product. Open it, please, share it. I've still got loads of people to share this with, including people who work for Bowmore. But yeah, just incredible. But it's very difficult to give it a 10, because we've had a lot of flack in the past about single cask releases or limited edition releases that we've given high scores and they've sold out instantly, and you can't physically walk into a shop and buy this. You can no longer buy it through Bowmore. So I think to give it a 10 would be unfair on all of you watching, because I'm waxing lyrical about this. And I have to be fair, and I've gotten a little bit lost in my own love of the whiskey in the past. It was still great, looking at that Cavalan Virgino bottle in particular. 9.5. It's as close to a 10 as I can give it without being a 10, because most of you watching this won't be able to go out and buy it, which I think is unfair in general. But there were only 3,000 bottles produced. If they produced another whiskey like it, which was more available, it wouldn't taste like this, because whiskey just doesn't work like that. So it is a 9.5. It's not a 10 purely because you can't go out and buy it, which I don't like. So that is unfortunate. But it's as close to a 10 as we can be without giving it a 10. Hopefully this video isn't too long. Thank you all for watching. This is Bowmore Feis Ile, and one last preach of, if you have it, dear Lord, just open it. Please open it. I beg of you to just open it, because it's some of the best whiskey you'll ever try. That's my opinion. You might disagree, but once it's open, your opinion might change too. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'm Phil, this is The Whiskey Shop, and this is Bowmore. I will see you all next week. Cheers.